Okay, so since the last video, just one little thing that was bugging me. I've just added a small 2.5 radius to the bottom surface there. And in order to have done that, that's all I did was click on fillet and selected the entire face and set a value of 2.5. So next up, we're going to create a new part. So let's just put that back in isometric view. And the new part is going to be a scroll wheel that's going to be positioned in the center there. So to create a new part, if I click on down at the bottom, create new part studio. And it's a good idea now to get into the habit as you create the parts, renaming them, and this is going to be my scroll wheel. I'm going to very quickly show you how to create two scroll wheels using two different techniques, but I'm actually going to do it in the same drawing to try and save time. When you create a part that corresponds to another part, if I go back to the mouse body, you'll see that I drew that profile on the right plane. So if I think about the scroll wheel, it wouldn't make sense to draw it on the front plane. It makes sense to draw it on the highlighted plane there, which is right. So if I click on scroll wheel, click on my right plane, let's view it from the right. You should be getting quicker and quicker at doing this now. Let's create a new sketch, center point circle, my scroll wheel. Well, if the entire body is 85, I would say my scroll wheel can probably get away with being, I don't know, let's see what it would look like at 25. Okay, green tick. Go back to isometric view. Now, if I go to extrude, what I don't want to do is extrude from one surface. If you think about where that right plane is positioned on the mouse body, I want this to be symmetrical. So I change it to symmetric, and let's put a thickness in of probably, I don't know, maybe 4. Let's make it a little bit wider, 5, and green tick. So if I now go to fillet, let's fillet both sides. There's the one side, rotate it around. Now the fillet radius is actually too big, so it won't do the two sides. So I need to reduce that down to a value like probably 1. So now I've got a slight radius or a fillet on both sides. Okay, that's one way of doing the mouse profile. I'm going to show you a slightly different way that allows you to do more complex shapes using a feature called Revolve. So I'm going to hide this extrude. By clicking on suppress. Okay, so I'm just suppressing that feature, temporarily hiding it. So using the Revolve tool, it's slightly different in how I set up my drawing. There's a few more steps, but it allows you, as I said, to create more complex shapes. So I'm going to draw it now on the top plane. So if I view it from top, you can now just about see where the profile of the wheel in my existing method is. So I'm going to draw a sketch, and I'm going to draw a corner rectangle there. With the Revolve, you need to draw half of the profile, and then you revolve it around an axis. So to create an axis, if I click on straight line, construction line, so again this won't actually appear, it just helps me draw. Right click, escape line, and let's just give this some dimensions. So let's set that to 12.5 and set the thickness to 5 and center it. So set that to 2.5. And green tick. Now, if I go back to isometric view, hopefully from the existing sketch, which you wouldn't actually need to do, that'll help you understand what I'm about to do. I'm about to revolve this feature going around this axis. So if I click on the Revolve tool, you guessed what I'm about to say, use the dialog box to help you. Click on the sketch that I wish to revolve. Select now the revolve axis, so that's the construction line. And that is now revolved around that point. You might be thinking, oh, it's way easier to do it on the extrude, but let me show you what it allows to do. If I go back to edit this sketch, and let's view it in an orientation that makes more sense. I'm going to trim these two lines, effectively getting rid of them. And if I go to something like the 3-point arc, which we haven't yet used, click on one point, click on a second point, click in. At this point, let's show you the mirror tool. So if I click on mirror, select the mirror line. Well, that's the mirror line there. Select the entities to be mirrored. There. We've got a perfect mirror now. Green tick. And that's now allowed me to create a mouse. You can kind of see it's got this concaved to a point there. And why not? Let's see if we can get away with putting a revolve on this entire surface. Sorry, a fillet. Let's put a value in there of 1. Okay, so I've got a very different type of revolve tool there. Hopefully you can see from that shaded area that now it goes into a point. Okay, so that's the basics of creating a wheel, 2 different methods, creating an extrude, or you can create a revolve.